This is CBC Windsor News. I'm Chris Hensing. Meg is away. Tonight, dozens pack City Hall to support a plan to revitalize downtown Windsor, what the decision means for the city and your tax bill. Plus, Brentwood is down 19 beds. Why this residential recovery center is accepting fewer people with demand on the rise. And this little bug is causing big problems across Windsor. What you need to know about the box tree moth. Brentwood, the well-known addiction recovery center, is down 19 beds. Those beds are dedicated spaces for people who need support through recovery. The CBC's Jennifer LaGrassa on why those beds have been removed during an ongoing drug crisis.
Wait times will increase.
It can feel like one step forward and two steps back for people like Elizabeth Dolmage, who are trying to help those struggling with addiction. Rising costs around food, utilities, and staffing have forced Brentwood Recovery Home to make some hard decisions. In recent months, the home has had to close 19 beds. That's 19 fewer spots available for people who need treatment. Those spaces were paid for by donations. And with them gone, the facility's already long wait list of more than 200 people will continue to grow.
Knowing that there's people out there that we're not helping is really, really challenging. Knowing that there are literally young people out there dying from their addiction it takes a toll.
And for those who know what it's like to battle substance abuse, the toll is even greater. Joshua Berg completed a 90-day program last year.
There's a certain type of concern there for people who are obviously still struggling in their addiction, to know that, they don't know what can happen in the near future. This is a game out in our society that's just like Russian roulette, and it's very time oriented with addiction. It's you never know what can happen within the next minute or the next hour. It's everything changes very drastically.
And the data shows that to be true, especially when it comes to the opioid crisis. As with many parts of the province, Windsor-Essex opioid death toll continues to rise. One harm reduction expert says systemic challenges get in the way of saving lives.
We still have such a long ways to go in terms of, addressing capacity and policy and stigma and bureaucracy. And that's going to continue to have to be advocacy on our behalf.
Right now, Brentwood has a total of 49 beds. 43 of those are funded by the province. But the facility actually has the capacity for 120 beds if the funding were there. The organization says that it's hopeful this is only temporary and that it will reopen more spaces soon. Jennifer LaGrassa, CBC News, Windsor.
A pro-Palestinian group protesting at the University of Windsor is setting up tents. There's at least 15 tents on the lawn across from Dillon Hall. Protesters have been there since Thursday, but started sleeping overnight Friday. The groups want the university to declare any investments that benefit Israel and divest immediately. It also has specific demands, which include cutting ties with Israeli institutions involved in the war against Palestinians and an education program to support Palestinian students and scholars. The group says the university hasn't responded to their demands, so they don't plan on leaving.
We stand here and we stand tall and we stand proud of what we have been doing for the people of Gaza and the people of Palestine, and what we're doing in so many ways, like sleeping out in the cold and in the rain and spending our days here in the hot summer, because we believe in this message and because we believe in our demands.
If you've ever wondered when City Hall was going to do something about the downtown core, there's an answer. Today, the Downtown Windsor Revitalization Plan has been approved, a multi-pronged plan to clean up downtown with additional policing and bylaw enforcement. Dawson Chen joins us live from City Hall. Dawson, what happened in council chambers today?
Chris, it was a marathon discussion on the 7-point plan to revitalize downtown Windsor. The $3.2 million plan was passed by council unanimously after more than 7 hours of talking about it, with input from at least 36 public delegates, and that's on top of 1,000 submitted emails. The delegates included a wide range of downtown stakeholders and community members, institutions like Windsor Police Service, Hotel Dieu Grace Healthcare, Family Services Windsor Essex. Many downtown business owners and property owners also spoke today, in addition to the Downtown Windsor Business Improvement Association. Greg Spencer of Spencer Butcher Group offered to buy and develop Windsor Arena if this plan passed. But public input wasn't the only reason for the long discussion. The plan came to council in an irregular way. Council had to vote to reopen the 2024 city budget to afford the plan. The $3.2 million price tag will allow for hiring of 12 more police officers to expand downtown patrolling, dedicating 3 bylaw officers to enforcement of downtown property standards, improvements of cameras, lighting, and other security measures. And the cost also represents a 0.7% increase in property taxes citywide. Besides policing and enforcement, the plan enhances wraparound relief for people experiencing homelessness, mental health crises, and addiction issues. DWBIA Chair Chris McLeod called this a watershed moment for downtown Windsor, and it starts immediately. That's something Police Chief Jason Belair was very clear about. Windsor Police will begin recruiting the additional officers tomorrow. The hours of the Homelessness and Housing Help Hub have been expanded, effective immediately. The city says the necessary changes and investments of this plan have already begun.
Hey, so CBC's Dalton Chen live tonight. A police drone in Chatham, Kent helped locate a man wanted on several warrants related to guns and drugs. The 34-year-old man was spotted Saturday night on a bicycle in a small community south of Blenheim. Eventually, police say they used a drone to find him after he ran into a woody, swampy area. Now, he's been wanted by Chatham Kent police as well as the OPP. The man is now facing charges involving firearms, drugs, driving, and bail-related conditions. Police in Sarnia have arrested a man after allegedly shooting an airsoft machine-style gun. Last Thursday, just after 10 p.m., a 31-year-old man called police to ask them to remove a small encampment that was forming behind a business between Confederation Street and Mechner Road. He expressed concerns about the possibility of vandalism to his property nearby. Less than an hour later, he called police again and said that he'd like to take matters into his own hands since they hadn't shown up. That's when police say he started shooting pellets in the direction of the encampment. No injuries reported. About 15 minutes after that, police arrive and say that he was driving erratically at police. Now, police say he went inside his shop and refused to come outside. Shortly before 1 a.m., he surrendered and was arrested on 3 charges, including possession of a weapon for a dangerous purpose. CBC News has learned the Women's National Basketball Association is expanding to Toronto. The team will tip off in 2026. Similar reports in March ended when the league said that there would be just one new team next year. It hasn't confirmed this new report, but 4 people tell CBC News that the announcement will be made May 23rd. Spearheading the franchise is sports mogul Larry Tannenbaum. That's the stakeholder in the company owning Toronto's Raptors and Leafs. We got local reaction to this on Windsor Morning.
They're just really focused on expansion and just opening up the field for young women, not just in the United States, but just across the world, just being able to play the game for an extended period of time, just like the NBA does. I think our young ladies at University of Windsor are super excited. We're already talking about it in a couple of years, just driving down or catching the train and being able to catch some games. And so I think it just excites a lot of people in the community, and it definitely excites me.
The popular boxwood plants and shrubs are facing a big problem, the box tree moth. It's an invasive pest currently causing severe damage to boxwood shrubs. The moth will lay eggs on the shrubs, and once the caterpillars hatch, they destroy the plant in a matter of weeks. A horticulture professor at St. Clair College said some light on what you need to know.
This has probably taken less than 2 weeks to be completely stripped. And it's almost now completely devoid of leaves. There's really only a few very small green leaves present. We think that probably most of this full-sized caterpillar larvae, it will probably be in its cocoon or resting stage now. And then after a period of time of the rest stage, it will develop into the moth, and that moth will move to other boxwood. The good thing about this pest is it only feeds upon boxwood, not our other garden plants, so that can make it a little bit manageable. So this is actually an introduced pest. Toronto was the first place in North America where the box tree moth occurred. And so now a number of our nurseries cannot ship say to the United States. Some of them actually ship upwards of 70% of their product to the United States, so they cannot do this anymore. So as for the home gardener though, they're going to be seeing box tree moth larvae, or if we want to consider that box tree moth caterpillars, if you want to call them that, in their boxwood. We're encouraging everyone to actually go to their boxwood, even if the boxwood looks healthy, and to sort of open up the boxwood, to pry it open a bit, and to check inside for a kind of white webbing. That might be one of the first things you would see, or as well too, we can see the small caterpillars or larvae in there. When they become nearly full size, they will actually start chewing on some of the small branches or branchlets on the plant, and they actually will destroy the growing tips of the plant as well. Within a week or so, they can strip your whole plant of all of its foliage. And then eventually that will develop into the moth, which then will fly around up to 10 kilometers away from its home to infest other boxwood.
Colette Kennedy joins us now live for a look at the weather. Before we dump into that, though, those boxwood moths, man, I tell you, I'm told too, it could be a big problem. It takes a long time, a lot of effort to get rid of.
Yeah, and I'm a bit devastated because boxwoods are what people like myself put in because they're low maintenance, they're easy to take care of. You know, they're green all year round until they're brown.
I tell you, eh? You're just trying to get that green thumb, the little rookie movement there, and this is what hits you.
I know, I'm going to be revealed thanks to these moths, but I'm really glad to have that report, so I know what to look for. I'm not looking forward to going into them and checking it out, but I will do that. I want you to check out what's happening. We obviously are, again, into forest fire season and having some real issues in northern Alberta, northern BC, and now some of that smoke meanders, making its way on the winds and over towards even the Great Lakes region. So I do just want you to be aware, mostly, you know, tonight we're talking about at upper Great Lakes, but as I look at the atmosphere and the forecast here, some of this will be sinking tomorrow into Wednesday into southwestern Ontario. It shouldn't be terribly thick or strong, but I do like to give you a heads up if you maybe have some respiratory issues or someone has a little more difficulty breathing, to know about that. You can understand why if you start feeling a little bit differently those days, and you need to take it easy. Take it easy with some of the heat. I don't know, really some, you know, wonderful conditions in terms of the warmth. Sarnia was up to 27, still sitting at 26 in Windsor as well. We have a frontal boundary, though, that's just kind of right over the area. Warm air is trying to push northward, cooler air coming south, and along it, getting into, yes, some breezier conditions, although some of these wind gusts we've been experiencing starting to calm down, not necessarily in Sarnia where they're still over 50 kilometers an hour, but the other thing brewing is some of this thunderstorm activity. For now, it's along that boundary. It is to the north of southwestern Ontario, but as it sinks, we have a better chance of seeing some of this coming in around Sarnia. For now, though, the severe thunderstorm, the watch is yellow, but red, that warning area there. So near the Bruce Peninsula, kind of stretching over towards Barrie, Midland, and through that region for some of those stronger storms. It's not just the lightning, it's the heavy downpours, some damaging winds, and even some large hail, that potential in there. A few spotty showers or thunderstorms into our skies through the overnight. Yep, that risk is there tomorrow too, but again, much of it seems to stay a little bit further north of Windsor, Chatham, Kent. But I don't want you caught off guard, so know the risk is there. And because that boundary is going to stick around for a few days, it really is nearly stationary, it leaves a chance of getting into at least some showers or a few thunderstorms kind of each day as we go. Overnight temperatures tonight, they're also mild. It's not just the daytime highs, so just down to 13. A little bit cooler tomorrow, a little more cloud cover too. 19 for the high. That chance of showers still. There it is into Wednesday. More cloud cover. I think we get a breather though and finally kick this thing out of here on Thursday before the next thing comes along.
Okay, well, a lot to keep our eyes on. Thanks, Colette.
You're welcome.
Coming up next, we take a look at a shortage of healthcare workers. How many will we need by 2032? That's next. Ontario will need tens of thousands of new nurses and personal support workers by 2032. That's according to a government document obtained by the Canadian press through a Freedom of Information request. The government had initially tried to keep the numbers a secret. Queen's Park reporter Lorenda Redicott has the story.
The opposition accuses the government of trying to keep the coming healthcare staffing shortages a secret.
I think if you're trying to hide something, it's probably because you might be ashamed of it. Well, they should be ashamed.
According to the document released to the Canadian press, in 2022, the province needed 6,000 more nurses. That went up the following year and is expected to rise again this year, projected to hit more than 33,000 by 2032. For personal support workers, the document shows an even bigger shortage, projected to be more than 37,000 this year, almost 49,000 in 2027, then more than 50,000 in 2032.
It's alarming. We've been ringing the alarm bells for years. So it's not a surprise, but very disappointing that the government deliberately instructed them not to release those numbers. Shame on them for trying to keep this a secret from the public.
She says their numbers suggest the situation could be even worse, saying 45% of PSWs leave the profession in the first year. Another similar Freedom of Information request had already been made previously by Global News and denied. The government argued the information would harm the province's financial and economic interests, leading to unions using the numbers to argue for higher wages. The group Democracy Watch is uncomfortable with the government's argument.
That is just a gigantic loophole that could be abused again and again in many different situations.
All the opposition parties say people need more transparency from the government.
Apart from attrition being a major factor, this government is shrouding everything in secrecy.
The Minister of Health needs to stand up, do her job, be honest and transparent with people about the shortages the systems face, and put forward a plan to deal with it.
A spokesperson for the health minister says the province recognizes more needs to be done to attract and retain workers and is working on that. She points to an item from this year's budget with more than $700 million for enrollment and retention programs. Lorenda Redicott, CBC News, Toronto.
More details today about Honda Canada's $15 billion investment to set up an electric vehicle supply chain in southwestern Ontario. Last month, the Japanese automaker said that its new EV assembly lines would be in Alliston, Ontario, but it didn't lay out where all of its component parts would be manufactured. Today, CBC News confirmed one of two communities that will benefit. Here's Janice McGregor.
As part of a joint venture with Honda, the Asahi Kasei Corporation is going to build a lithium-ion separator plant in Port Colborne, Ontario. Now, that's in the Niagara region. Of course, it's very close to the bridges to the U.S., to 400 series highways, these essential trade corridors for the automotive sector. This is going to be the first time that we've had a separator plant in Canada. This part of the EV battery manufacturing process has never been done here. And this is very specialized technology. The separator is the thin porous membrane that physically keeps apart the anode and the cathode part of the lithium battery. And it's big business. The company said in its press release that it's going to be investing about 180 billion Japanese yen in its Ontario plant. That's about 1.6 billion Canadian. Attracting this investment did not come cheap. We know that the overall $15 billion investment deal that Honda made to start up its bespoke electric vehicle supply chain in southwestern Ontario came with a commitment from the federal and the Ontario government to provide up to $5 billion worth of tax credits and other kinds of taxpayer incentives. Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland today was out reminding reporters that the new investment tax credits that helped land Honda's business are actually included in two different budget implementation bills that are before the House of Commons right now.
We need all parties to help us in that work. And it's not some abstract thing. Getting these credits passed into law is what we need to make investments like the Honda investment real, to get that money coming into our country and to get the jobs that it brings.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, Ontario Premier Doug Ford, their key economic ministers, municipal leaders, company executives, They'll all be on the ground in Port Colborne tomorrow for this announcement. Janice McGregor, CBC News, Ottawa.
Coming up next, we will dip into Donald Trump's hush money trial in New York. That's after the break. Prosecution's star witness testified today at Donald Trump's hush money trial in New York. Michael Cohen, Trump's former lawyer and personal fixer, told the court that Trump told him to move ahead with a payment to Stormy Daniels. That was to bury an alleged affair with the porn star that could have damaged Trump's 2016 campaign. CBC's Chris Glover has the latest as the trial enters its final stretch.
This whole criminal trial has led up to this moment. The key witness for the prosecution taking the stand, coming also with extensive baggage of his own.
What do you have to say?
Michael Cohen, the man Donald Trump used to pay to fix his problems, now serving as his biggest one.
Everybody else, though compelling, were circumstantial evidence witnesses. He is the direct link witness.
The prosecution needs Cohen to link Trump directly to the alleged scheme to falsify business records to conceal hush money payments to keep an alleged affair with an adult film star quiet.
Hello, how are you? Hi.
Cohen testified about the intensity in Trump's orbit after the Access Hollywood tape surfaced in the dying days of the 2016 campaign. Around that time, Cohen became aware of a Playboy model, Karen McDougal, shopping a story of an affair with Trump. In September 2016, Cohen secretly recorded Trump talking about paying to keep that story quiet. It was played for jurors again.
What financing? We'll have to pay you, so. Okay. No.
Prosecutors using that anecdote to prove a pattern. When next, Cohen says he paid adult film star Stormy Daniels to stay quiet at Donald Trump's urging. Trump said to me, "This is a disaster, a total disaster. Women are going to hate me," Cohen testified.
You gonna tell the truth today in court?
Since Cohen himself already served jail time for crimes including lying to Congress, his credibility before the jury is under the spotlight.
They just need to trust him a little bit. And they need to see how he fits in with all the other witnesses. And they have to remember that if this guy is so bad, why did Trump employ him for so long?
Mission accomplished, says former Trump communications director Anthony Scaramucci, who's also broken from Trump's ranks.
You and I both know people that have been caught in lies in the past that have reformed themselves and are speaking very directly and very factually. And I think he did that today.
This is the prosecution's final major witness. He's expected back on the stand tomorrow, and the prosecution says it could wrap its case by the end of this week. Chris Glover, CBC News, New York.
$9.5 million is hard to picture for many of us, but here's how to fit that between your thumb and index finger. That right there is a little bigger than I thought it would be. It's a vivid yellow diamond going under the hammer tomorrow in Geneva. Auction House Sotheby's estimates that this brooch could fetch nearly $10 million. It's one of the largest diamonds in the world. Weighs more than 100 carats. The all-nat diamond is believed to have been mined over 100 years ago in South Africa. That is it for CBC Windsor News. Don't forget, for news anytime, you can go to our website at cbc.ca/Windsor. You can also download the CBC News app for stories that matter most to you. And don't forget to watch The National tonight at 9 on CBC News Network, 10 p.m. on the CBC News app, CBC TV, and streaming on CBC Gem and CBC Explore. Before we go, I just want to wish a happy birthday to my mom. I don't have $10 million, so it's probably a card instead of an expensive brooch. That is it for us. Thanks for watching. Have yourself a wonderful evening.